Hello and welcome to episode 6 of Control Alt Record. My name is Chris, and with you for this episode is Brett and Grax. Michael is not actually joining us this week. Ask us why, we don't know, so we'll move on. Tonight's show, we're going to start off with a little bit of news. I'm going to talk about Path of Exile. We're bringing back the flashback segment with Brett. First impressions with Grax, and a new segment upcoming. If you did like the show, jump onto iTunes and give us a rating and a review. That'd be awesome. Also, jump onto Facebook, Twitter, and check out our YouTube channel. All these descriptions, all the links will be in the description of this episode. But let's get into the show.
You're listening to Control Alt Record.
Got to love the clicking of your mic, of your keyboard there. Just as like, quick, let's get into it. Oh, clicky. Chuck.
clicky. I didn't click anything.
Oh, it sounded like it.
No, I use my phone, which is a touch screen, to play the sounds. So it's probably...
was it you, Grax?
It might have been me.
Oh, well, just coincidental timing that as you can hear the clicking and then the music. Anyway, so...
mechanical keyboards, my apologies.
News. Let's start off with news. Brett, you had a bit of random news. Let's start with you.
Well, hang on. What about your news? You just got a mechanical keyboard for the first time, I've heard.
Oh, yeah. So the first time ever I've become an adult gamer, and I have a mechanical keyboard. I've been meaning to get one for like so long, but I've just been too lazy to actually go down to like the local shop and buy one.
So tell us how awesome it is, now that you're part of the group.
It's so awesome. Oh, my God. I can't believe I haven't got one like earlier in my life. That's really sad, actually. To call myself a gamer, but I've never really had a mechanical keyboard. But
that's why we didn't really consider you a gamer before. So now.
Yeah, you consider your status elevated. Just slightly.
You're a casual. You're a filthy casual before.
Yeah. I'm a filthy casual now. Okay. Well, glad I've. What was I before? What's worse than a filthy?
Oh, you don't want to know. You don't want to know. Don't ask that question.
Cool news, Brett. What have you got?
Okay. This is not gaming related, but it sort of sprang up. It was quite funny. It would be extremely simple. Sex robot creator wants to make baby with machine and then 3D print it.
What?
Oh, jeez.
Sergi Santos is ready to take the next big step with his plastic partner despite having a loving wife at home. So this guy is into sex robots, and it's not enough
each
to
to their
have,
own.
Yeah. So he wants to actually I suppose you can't really impregnate the sex robot, but he wants to like print out a baby and then
3D print a baby, good stuff.
I mean, I don't know.
Is he the guy that made the robot, or is he just some guy that's picked up?
Yeah, no, he's the inventor.
All right.
And
because I was going to say, Sergi Santos sounds a bit like a porn star to me.
Yeah. So he's revealed that he's ready to make a baby because everyone was waiting for that big news. And he's going to use a mixture of the couple's traits. And
the couples, what the sex robot?
What kind of electronic traits, like circuitry?
I guess just the looks wise.
Okay.
Just sort of looking at some photos here. She's got more of a tan skin. He's more of a sort of white.
This is how you get
guy. So,
of course,
you know, he's.
This reminds me, or this sounds like a sort of an opportunity to have like one of those Back to the Future of Michael J. Fox on his hoverboard, and then like a meme to kind of be all like, you know, we'll have flying cars in the future, and we'll be a utopian society. And it's like, no, fat bald guy trying to make babies.
We're printing babies at this point.
This is how you get Cylons, people. This is what happens.
Well, the weird thing is he's actually married. Like, it says a 39-year-old claims having regular sex with his cyborgs is not detrimental to his marriage. In fact, it claims it's improved their relationship.
It's improved it.
I don't know about you guys, but like if I went to my partner and went, kind of, is it cool if I have a sex robot? I don't think she'd be that happy.
Yeah, I don't think that's something my missus would go for.
No, I can't see that either. But you know, wow, whatever. You know, hey, look, each to their own. You know, whatever. But that is a little bit weird. That's a little bit weird.
Could you get jealous of it? Like, it's a bit weird to be jealous of a sex robot.
No, go ask your partner. Say, look, would you ever be jealous if I did this? And then see what
I'd be checking you into a mental institution.
I think it would be. She would just be like, "What? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?" And especially if you like want to print a baby out. You just feel like it's just like you've gone into cuckoo land at that point.
Because there's not enough babies going around in the world. It's like you just feel the need to actually print them. I mean, plenty of other kids out there need homes, but no, let's print the baby. Okay.
Yeah.
I wonder if he might have just said that to try and get some publicity so he can.
Yeah, maybe.
For his robots, sell his robots.
Yeah.
That's probably more likely, actually.
They cost $2,000 and he's selling them soon. So, if you guys are interested.
Sounds a lot more cheaper than a real
not really my scene, but thank you.
So
apparently,
the cost-effective
it
way
enhances
for
your marriage.
parenting.
It's like if your marriage is
marital aid.
Yeah, marital aid. Yeah. I don't really know how it improves it, but it just does.
No, that doesn't
Increases the tension because married life doesn't have enough stress.
So, all right, there you go. Printed babies and sex robots. Great way to start the show. So moving on, I got a bit of a. It's not a weird news thing like that. That's for sure. This is definitely I think a PSA announcement for people into microtransactions. So we did touch on this in the last episode in regards to loot crates in Battlefront 2. Really pissed me off, that's for sure. But what we've got here, I think is so much worse. So have you guys heard of the recent news that's come about in the sort of last week or two around a patent that Activision applied for and has recently been granted into microtransactions and matchmaking players in multiplayer matches? Does that ring any bells to you guys?
No, please explain.
I did see Activision in the news about they'd done something, but I didn't actually catch on what it was. But please explain. This is
all right. Yeah, look,
it's going to piss me off.
I kind of feel like I've got some of the abstract information straight out of the what's going around on the internet at the moment. Anyway, so I'm going to kind of slowly go through it to make sure you two and the listeners process this, because it's actually a little bit. Look, I'll just get into it. So look, Activision had submitted for a patent back in 2015 to build a microtransaction system, microtransaction engine within multiplayer video games, and it has recently been approved. So now, I guess disclosure, look, Activision have come out and confirmed that this system is not in their games at this point, and whether they choose to use it in the future, we don't know. But this is basically it. So the abstract reads, the system and method is provided that drives microtransaction games. The system may include a microtransaction or may include microtransactions to arrange matches to influence game-related purchases. For instance, the system may match a more expert or marquee player with a junior player to encourage the junior player to make game-related purchases of items possessed or used by the expert or marquee player. A junior player may wish to emulate. So where they're coming from is they're thinking that the junior player may wish to emulate the marquee player by obtaining the weapons or other items used by that player.
So another version of pay to win.
So what they're trying to do is get that mindset into sort of shitty players to kind of go, well, look, I've been potentially purposely matched with a really good player. They've got really cool stuff. Clearly, they're performing way better than me. I need their stuff. And rather than work for it, potentially get them to go and make the purchase for the items themselves. Now, there's another part. But that's
like, sorry, just so essentially what that is doing though is it's like kind of forcing it on you, because the game, it won't even be competitive at all, because it's not ever going to match you with new players. It's always going to try to get you to
match you with players.
Still you.
That is fucking. Is this really true, Chris? Because I'm feeling really upset about it.
Yeah. So this is part two. Of part of the patent. So in one implementation, when a player makes a game-related purchase, this is where it gets, I think, worse. So when a player makes a game-related purchase, the microtransaction engine may encourage future purchases by matching the player in a gameplay session that will utilize the game-related purchase. Doing so may enhance the level of enjoyment of the player for the game-related purchase, which may encourage future purchases. So, for example,
perpetual upgrades.
Yeah. So, for example, if the player purchases a particular weapon, the microtransaction engine may match the player into a gameplay session where the particular weapon is highly effective, giving the player an impression that the particular weapon was a really good purchase. This may then lead to encouraging the player to make future purchases to achieve similar gameplay results. So they're looking to put players like, okay, I bought this really cool gun. So it's like, when we look at, say, for example, Destiny 2. Now, look, as I said at the start, this system is not implemented in Destiny 2. There's no way it can be because there is microtransactions in Destiny 2, but they're all cosmetic. You can't go and buy weapons. So this system is not implemented into it. But when I look at something like Destiny 2 and you go into the game, like the multiplayer matches where you're sort of going into your dungeons and what essentially they call strikes, certain dungeons, certain maps will be, if you've got a particular weapon type, you're going to do more damage, and if you've got the opposite type of elemental weapon, you're going to do less damage. So therefore, you need the matching weapon. So therefore, so it'll match you into these games, so you become really awesome, and you kind of go, great. Now you go into the next match where you might potentially have a crappy weapon because it doesn't have the right elemental effect or whatever. So therefore, potentially what they're looking to do is encourage you to make a purchase on a weapon that will get you through that. So this is the new type of thing that could be coming.
His microphone in disgust.
Well, okay.
Like what I've read to you there are segments straight out of the patent that Activision have gone and got approval for, which I think was on the 17th of October.
So, so what happens with, if it's like PvP type thing, then the more experienced players, wouldn't they have then no challenge? Because like if you've got all the stuff, you're just going to get matched against noobs because it's just trying to sell those noobs stuff, but you've already got all the stuff. So it would also ruin it for them as well.
As there is a lot of wording in terms of may do this, may encourage, may include that. There's a lot of that type of so that may well be a scenario.
It's an algorithm essentially that just is going to work out the best matchmaking to promote its microtransactions. So the microtransactions are basically going to completely drive the game, as opposed to it even being sidelined to the game or secondary. It's actually going to be the main driver.
They might even be able to not spend as much time on gameplay because no one will be playing anything. Buying shit.
Now, another theory that is going around at the moment is to why Activision have done this.
Because they're greedy cunts.
Is what they call patent trolling. That's the terminology being used anyway. So what they go and do is they kind of go and implement this or get registered for this patent and then never actually use it, because then if another developer comes along and has something similar to it, they're in a position to, of course, sue the other developer because they're using basically what is something they have.
I don't see how you could patent that. I don't see how you could patent an algorithm that does that. You know what I mean? Because it's too general, surely.
Apparently not.
Like it's just a matchmaking. Like you can't patent matchmaking, surely.
No, not necessarily matchmaking, but I think the algorithm. Matchmaking is like Greg said. It's the vehicle. It's more about the. I guess the type of matchmaking that it is. It's matchmaking you with a certain criteria to, a gameplay session that matches whatever they're trying to sort of achieve.
Yeah, I know. I understand.
When you first mentioned it and said matchmaking and microtransactions, my first thought was they were going to make you pay to matchmake with another person, like similar to how Xbox Live is.
Yeah, they've been doing that for a while.
And I thought that might have been a new version of that or something, but this is far beyond that.
Yeah.
Far out, man.
Lots of manipulation there. So, like I said...
what about, like Assassin's Creed, where it's like, I posted it on the Facebook page, and it's like...
The Origins one.
Yeah, full game. And then it's like the next one is like more levels. And it's like, well, it's not the full game then, is it? It's like most of the game. Why doesn't it say most of the game?
Yeah.
Or some of the game.
I'm sure their working theory is, no, this was the full game as we saw it, but we're going to add more stuff, and therefore it's extra more full game.
Extra.
The word full, being there as the sort of describer of it. But
they should just say main game.
Well, they usually say standard game or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's because they've changed it to full game. It's like, well, no, it's not.
It's not the full game.
Activision are really fucked.
I actually always until I saw this, I thought Activision were quite
becoming
good,
the new EA.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, speaking of EA,
will be happy about that.
Yeah. You see EA recently closed down, was it Visceral Games?
Visceral Games, yeah.
Yep, that's another one. So they seem to be
Did they say why, though? There was a lot of mystery shrouded around. Or
No.
From what I saw, it was all hush-hush. It's just, Visceral Games closed.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying
For those who may not be completely familiar with Visceral Games, they released the Dead Space series, which is something that a lot of people loved. And they were also working on a new heavily story-driven Star Wars game. So, which was kind of in the talks for a few years, which got a few people happy. Gone. Now gone.
Were they the ones that were supposed to be working on Star Wars 1313 a while back as well?
Could have been.
Game, the first-person shooter set in Coruscant? I think they were. I'm not 100% sure, though.
No, I know like the biggest is just that Dead Space was sort of their big one. That obviously got a few games out of that series and a lot of people really enjoyed. So there you go. So
now, Chris. Thanks for that. I just
I've lost sorry. I should have.
Hey, if you want to be even more depressed, I can give you my bit of news.
Go on.
Okay, go.
So I came across this thing the other day about the release of the new Wolfenstein 2 game.
Yes.
And I didn't really pay attention to it until a couple of hours ago. I just saw some highlights about people complaining on Twitter and stuff like that about it being anti-white or something silly. So I went and did a bit more research before the show, and I found this newshub.co.nz news article, which basically says Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus launch trailer, causes controversy by celebrating the slaughter of Nazis and the KKK. So they've done a Twitter post, the official Wolfenstein account, saying this is the face of the hero, join the resistance, #Wolf2, and it's got a picture of BJ Blazkowicz there. And someone's replied to that going, this is the face of a race traitor, #anti-white, #white genocide.
Oh my God. Yeah. So I think that reply was obviously just a
troll,
you reckon? A troll. Shit take,
but it goes
absolutely.
on. It goes on.
Oh,
Bethesda are on there going, no more Nazis, help the resistance take back America in #Wolf2. And someone else has posted, stop your liberal campaign against Trump supporters. Like, they're just trolling like tomorrow.
But was there legitimately, like, before the trolls on Twitter were sending their responses, was there actually like someone was dead serious in coming out and sort of saying that?
Apparently, so there's
I'm sure that people would say that seriously. Like, there's the sort of
there would definitely be
alt-right
some
and
people
stuff like
out
that
there
would be
crazy.
getting into it. Yeah,
but there's also some very humorous responses to it. But basically, the crux of the articles, it's got quotes, but it doesn't cite who it's quoting. So it's saying here, Bethesda, the studio behind the game, has marketed the game with such slogans such as "No more Nazis, make America Nazi-free again."
Sorry, Grant. The way you say Nazis, Nazis is so funny. Like Nazi.
That's all right.
Can you say Nazis properly?
Nazis.
Nazi.
No,
Nazi.
it's Nazi.
It's not Nazi. It's not rice.
No, they're nasty goreng. Remember?
Yeah.
So it's, apparently the game's an alternate timeline where they've taken over America.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
We all know the Wolfenstein thing, but it's like Nazis are the best enemies ever. They're so much fun to kill, and no one needs to ever apologize for that.
No, I'm pretty sure they're like one group like in history that you have no say to say, oh, I'm offended by that. No, you don't get to like be.
People seem to be like, I mean, people get offended by everything, but it seems recently it's like, there's literally nothing you can do without someone going, oh, fucking man.
But it's all the keyboard warriors hiding behind their mobile phones and computer keyboards, isn't it? Like, look at me, I'm big and tough, no one knows who I am, so I can say what I want. And
imagine if you went back in time and told people like that are just, World War II's finished, it's like 1946, and you go and tell them it's like in whatever, fucking 60, 70 years, people are going to be getting offended because you're killing Nazis in a computer game. They wouldn't even know what that is, but they'd just be like, what?
Yeah.
They can just shove their fists up their ass.
This is the reality we live in, unfortunately. There's just so many bleeding hearts out there.
Yeah.
I don't know, bleeding hearts.
Like you could literally...
the poor Nazis. I feel like they've been misrepresented. They're actually really good guys.
It was all a mistake. Hitler was a top bloke.
Yeah, he had a few good policies.
He was just trying to better his country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We shouldn't pick on Hitler. I mean,
I mean, the Nazis thought he was an okay guy.
Hitler had feelings as well.
Yeah, he liked cats and
he liked dog. He had a dog called Blondie. But
Did he?
Yes, he did. But apparently he did
Is
kill
that-
the dog, actually, at the end. He gave it a suicide pill. But it was probably for the best because the Russians wouldn't have treated that dog very well, I wouldn't think.
That's a bit of interesting.
What type of dog do you have?
I think it was like a Labrador or a Golden Retriever or something like that. Like one of those.
Like a big dog, not like I imagine.
It's a
him
big
kinda
dog,
like
yeah.
a
And there's
sausage
actually
dog
footage
kinda guy.
of him playing with the dog, and he's like all happy, and it's just weird that like someone who's so evil can just be like, "Oh, I love the dog, Blondie." Whoa.
See, he did have a human side.
Yeah, so
kinda
let's
feel
stop picking on Hitler, guys. Come on, he loved the
I kind
dog.
of feel like he'd be more of a Rottweiler or a Doberman type guy. That's what I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
who knows?
sitting on his like throne at the end of the dinner table with like two Dobermans sitting on either side. I think I'm visualizing this a bit too much.
Well, that's the thing. See, maybe these, maybe that's what the Nazi sympathizers are saying. He's like, look, he's actually a reasonable guy,
Oh yeah, okay.
but probably not. So
No, probably not. Probably not. No.
he did kill the dog. So let's not forget that.
Yeah, more defenseless dog. So there you go.
All right. So I already did a bit of. I mean, I'm going to be talking about Path of Exile in this episode. Now,
What is that, Chris?
I've already done a little bit of talking with the microtransaction bit. Does anyone else want? Because the contents are in no particular order. Do you want me to just go now and just get?
Well, I can do my flashback segment if you prefer.
I suppose then, but then no, I'll do Path of Exile just because then I'll break up the game discussion. So cool. So yeah, lately, for those who may not know, Path of Exile is actually a game that's been out for about 4 years now.
So get ready for this new review. That
I
Chris
know.
has just done.
Yeah, it's breaking gameplay.
Look, okay, so Path of Exile, if you don't know what it is, it's a free-to-play online action
No
RPG
one's going to know
game.
what it is.
Well, that's why I'm
they've
bringing it
forgotten.
up.
I think you're
That's
the
why
only
I'm
one that
bringing it
plays
up.
it, Chris. Like out of the whole.
No, I'm
planet.
not. No, I'm pretty sure I'm not. There's actually quite a large community around it that's still going.
You're correct. I
So-
downloaded it, but I didn't play it. So it's that's a
So
second.
look, it's from developer Grinding Gear Games. It was released on Steam on the 24th of October 2013. So yes, it is a few
Cutting
years old, but
edge.
bear with me.
All the best graphics.
It has continued to grow and grow year on year with more content that just keeps going into it. There's been numerous updates, and actually had one of the largest updates earlier this year when they expanded upon their original 4 acts, and they actually expanded the game out to 10 acts. So there's
Jesus,
actually quite a lot of
that's a big update.
there was a
Can I ask
massive
a question?
update. Yeah.
Can I ask a question? So you said it's free to play, which is cool. I like, there's some good free to play games out there, but it's been going for 4 or 5 years now.
How do they make
How
money?
are they funding? Have they got microtransactions?
Look, so
Because we just bagged the
okay.
shit out of that.
No.
Yeah, they better not have an algorithm where you get matched to bloody
No,
get your
okay.
micro things.
So look, there are microtransactions,
Oh, fucking bullshit. Get rid of it. I'm deleting it off Steam.
but they're the good kind. Look, I
These
don't
guys are
have an
worse
issue
than
with
Nazis.
I don't look. I do. There is microtransactions, which I will come to that in a moment. But look, actually, one thing I didn't realize about Grinding Gear Games, the developer, they're actually based in New Zealand. So it's actually this is
Cruise
actually
across the
really,
ditch.
well successful game, and from the Kiwis. So you'll actually find that quite prominent in the game as well. There's a lot of characters in there with predominantly New Zealand or Kiwi accents. With I
like
think
Hebrew,
it's
Hebrew.
yeah, there is that kind of accent in there. So and also I think there is some characters in there with a few Australian accents as well. So but look,
Okay,
in
mate.
Path of Exile. Look, you are essentially the setting of it. You are an exile struggling to survive in a dark continent called Rayclast. I don't know if I can ever pronounce that correctly. You fight to grow in power and exact your revenge on people who wronged you, blah, blah, blah. Story is a little bit, I don't know. I don't really follow the story in action RPGs, to be perfectly honest. So it's a bit, that's kind of like a weekend of it. So look, if you have not heard or seen Path of Exile before, the best direct comparison to it would be the Diablo series. Except it has a lot less of the Blizzard cartoony look and more of a dark and gritty, gruesome feel to the environment and sort of the design and the graphics to it. So it actually does take on a different bit of a look.
Is it
So there's-
multiplayer or is it? Just,
It is multiplayer.
Okay.
I'm still yet to check out the multiplayer side of things because Brett downloaded it but decided to never play it. So
I'll get to it. It's just other
You'll get
stuff
to it?
came out. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it is. What is it? Breaktober. That's what the saying is. October. All
the games.
The games come out.
So many.
All the games. So look, one of the biggest things I really do like about the game is the skills system in it. It's really deep. So you don't actually earn skills as you level up. You actually have to find skill gems that give you certain abilities, but those gems are actually colored, so they actually have to put them into sockets, into weapons and armor and things like that. But those sockets have to match the color of the gem, so you can actually stick it in.
He's so mature. I knew you wouldn't be able to say that without giggling at the end.
and one of the things, like as the game progresses, that becomes quite cool is as you find new weapons and armor that is potentially stronger than the current one that you are using, it may not have the matching sockets. So you have to start to weigh up the decision and add a bit of theory crafting to it. Is do you take this weapon, lose the skill, or do you continue with the same weapon you've got because you can get the skill and things like that? So it's really quite detailed. The skill tree in it is a passive skill tree. So it's not like, the passives that are in all within plus to your crit chance and damage and things like that. If you can sort of imagine like just a giant spider web of little nodes, and at each intersection is a node of the web, and you can sort of go in any direction that you want. So you're not really structured into following the stereotypical rogue or thiefy character needs dexterity and warriors need strength. You can be a wizard, magical class, and aim for the direction to be wield giant maces if you really wanted to. So you can actually pick and choose which way you want to.
But how much do sorry to interrupt you, but how much do the microtransactions affect the gameplay? Like, is it like, have you bought anything yet?
So, okay. No, I haven't. I have not.
So is it just cosmetic?
It is purely cosmetic.
Really?
So everything that's in it is around your cosmetics. It's around sort of special effects for your character. But I've kind of gone through the store already. You can buy pets, and later on in the game, you can actually customize and design like your own custom hideout where you can have NPCs come and join you, and you can build a hideout and things like that, and you can buy stuff to add into it purely for decoration. But there's no transactions in this whatsoever that is going to give you boosts to your character and anything like that.
How much have you spent on it?
Pay to win. $0. So I have not spent anything on this one, and I still have a lot of content to go through. So
how much time have you put into it so far?
Nearly 20 hours at this point.
And it's still got
free to play. Yeah, I think 20 hours is.
But it's still got your interest, obviously. You're saying you
like so at the moment, I've still got 6 more acts to go. Even when you get to the 10th act, I still got to do a bit more research into it because right now I'm just focused on leveling up. There's randomized dungeons. There's challenged labyrinths where you go in and have to do certain things. There's environmental traps and contraptions that you've got to try and avoid. Boss battles are actually quite challenging. You've got to really think about what you're doing. It's not like Diablo where you kind of have to sit there and, if you've got more HP or more health over the boss and it's just a race to see who runs out first by standing there taking damage. No, like in this one, the damage completely outweighs how much health that you've got. So you've actually got to move around and dodge, and it's not just attacks.
Sounds like you like this better than Diablo.
Look,
are you saying it's better than the Blizzard game, Chris? This could be a new leaf for you.
I still have a long way to go before I make that call. So we'll see. I don't know. It's got a lot to like about it.
So when you say it's a traditional RPG type game, so it's like medieval swords and sorcery kind of thing, or is it more future? Yeah, okay. So it's not like a futuristic thing. It's all axes, wizards and
swords
and armor.
I actually think the environment and sound design in the game is actually really well done. You can go down into, so when you go down to like your dungeons, you get very little light source. So you actually, it kind of reminds me of the original Diablo when you'd go into a dungeon and you'd have like the little circle of light around you, where in Diablo 3 now everything's lit up and you can kind of see where you're going. In this one, not so much. You are very much restricted to your line of sight when you're walking down hallways, so you never really know what's around the corner, which kind of does build up a bit of sort of suspense and anticipation. It really does. The atmosphere built into it is actually really well done. So, one of my favorite parts so far, one of the areas I quite enjoyed was walking down into a prison, very dimly lit, and you sort of see blood smeared all over the floor, up the walls, and over in sort of the distance, all you can hear is like screams of like the faint screams of prisoners that sound like they're being tortured, because you just hear them sort of begging whoever they're doing whatever's to them just to stop and just be all fucking So it's really quite
probably Hitler doing it.
Hitler with his blonde
being chased by BJ Blazkowicz.
But yeah, so look, no, I mean, I think the only thing that with the microtransactions that is kind of a little bit of a letdown in a way is that because they are very focused on the cosmetics and the aesthetics of your character, is you're quite limited to the types of armor design and weapon designs that you're going to get when you're actually leveling your character. So, when you get as you continue to level up and you get a new armor piece, it's always cool to look different and look more beastly.
I have no problem with microtransactions if the game's free. I think that's fine. Like, it's just when it's like a full paid game and then they're still trying to fleece you. But when
you're paying $90-$100 for a game and they still want DLC and this and that and bloody blah.
Yeah,
you can change your hair.
No, but see, even then, microtransactions are fine as long as as if I could go in and buy a sword that's going to be like you win the game. Then no.
It's like the gameplay based ones are the poison, basically.
Yeah, basically.
Absolutely.
So, look, I actually think this is a free-to-play game that has had microtransactions done right. It's what has had this game going for 4 years and continue to bring updates, and particularly with the most recent update with adding an additional 6 acts. So, like, I'm up to approaching 20 hours now, and I'm still in Act 4, which is still considered like the original content. And I've now got 6 acts to go. So already just working on that, I'm getting 40 to 50 hours just straight away in the story, just getting to the end potentially. And that's completely free. Like,
how long is it going to be before you start buying shit? No, there's anything wrong with it.
Have you been tempted?
Look, maybe a little bit. But then when I've kind of put in like 20 plus hours.
You're just saying that because your wife listens to this, but really you've spent like $1,000. And you've got one of the best looking characters. I'm going to play it, and your guy's like flying around on a Pegasus on fire, and it's like,
I'll tell you what,
all free.
If you actually play the game, you can join mine, and you'll see there's nothing that I've purchased. But I don't mind spending money on microtransactions for games as long as I've put the hours into it. I hate, it's like, I put an hour in, I spend $10 or something, then it's like, I'm actually bored of the game already. I found this game to be quite enjoyable so far for 20 hours. I wouldn't feel any sort of sense of regret to put a bit of money onto it for a new effect or something, because I feel that the developers really probably deserve it. So it's a really well game. Some of the things that are still a bit lacking is character animations, and the models could be a little bit more polished. Story is a little hard to follow, but not because it's complicated, but because it just doesn't feel memorable.
Can't understand the Kiwis.
But look, overall, if you have not heard of Path of Exile, or you've been kind of a bit umming and ahhing about it, 100% go play this game.
Control Alt Record, bringing you news from 4 years ago.
Or for some people that have never heard of it before, it could be brand new.
Yeah, no.
So Chris, all right. So that was fairly positive, and it sounds cool. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to flip this on its head now. Give me one thing you really don't like about it.
Okay, so I probably would put down to. I mean, I sort of mentioned a couple of things there, but
what
one
really
thing
annoys the hell out of you? It's got to be something.
It's not Blizzard didn't make it.
I've probably found that even after 20 hours, sometimes that it can feel a little repetitive when you're going into dungeons. That can feel a little bit repetitive. So I probably haven't picked it up in the last 2 or 3 days. Now, I don't know if that kind of turns all the credibility that I've just kind of thrown at it.
So you're bored of it?
I still want to continue. I want to still.
I think that's valid, because I do like, I'm a big RPG gamer from way back, all the way back to D&D, which you guys don't want to talk about. But yes, that is a common flaw with quite a lot of RPGs, that combat and boss fights and all that kind of thing, like they slightly change it. It happens even in World of Warcraft. They're
it's the loot grinding thing, isn't it? It's grinding. Yeah, you got to grind. Got to have the grind.
Yeah, it's got to. That's part of the achievement. And
look, I mean, part of that could have just been when that 20 hours was over the course of like 2 or 3 days. Like, it was, I probably burnt myself out probably more than anything else, because it's like I wasn't playing anything else. So 2 or 3 days, that's not a lot of time really, but I was quite heavily I spent I think a whole Saturday.
Must play Path of Exile.
Yeah, woke up. Wife was in Perth, and I woke up and I was like 12 hours straight, and I was like, maybe I should play something else just to break it up.
So
but that was it.
Destiny
Chris,
2 coming out on Destiny 2 coming out on PC tomorrow. The chance of you going back to this game for a long time are 0.
Well, okay, Destiny 2 will trump it. I'm sorry. Destiny 2 will trump it, that's for sure.
But that's AAA versus free-to-play, isn't it? So,
well, yeah, exactly. So Destiny 2, yes, I will be playing Destiny 2. That is 100% certain, and there's a lot of stuff there. I put 100, 200 hours into Destiny 1. I've already put about 50 to 60 hours into Destiny 2 on the PlayStation 4. And now with the PC version, tomorrow I'm going to do that all over again. So isn't
it going to be annoying having to start all over again?
No, because it's really enjoyable to play. The gunplay and the actual mechanics of Destiny 2 is actually really enjoyable to play.
And for anyone in Australia, you can get Destiny 2 on PC for $59 from JB Hi-Fi. They're not paying us for this, but it's a fucking good price.
No, it is, but also their Facebook advertisement yesterday said $59 for 1 day only. So. Yeah,
but I looked at it today, and it's like it's just going to buy it from the store now.
Okay, yeah. So definitely, but I think that was also a pre-order price as well. So
no, this is like because it's officially out now. So sort of is, but I don't know. Online, it was still showing it. Yeah, unless they change that suddenly.
I don't know. By the time, if it is a pre-order price, and by the time we actually release this episode, the pre-order would have passed. So if you are listening to us, please do your homework.
Just looking up now. Yeah. It still says $59 and it says in stock, and it doesn't come up as a pre-order. So
okay, all right.
I mean, that's way better than buying it from the Blizzard launcher. You just got to go out into the.
You don't get a disc though. You get it's a download only.
So I pre-ordered it yesterday. I put my put my money down for it, and I was like, is it a digital download? Can I get the code now so I can pre-install it or something? And she's like. I was like, or is it a physical copy? And the girl behind the counter was sort of a bit like, it's kind of both. And I was like, what? What do you mean it's kind of both? Is it one or the other? They're like, well, it comes in a nice physical box, but on the inside is a cardboard disc with a sticker on it with your code. So I was like,
you know, there's going to be people that are going to put that in this.
I was just thinking that they're jamming it into their DVD drive, and they're like, then they're trying to sue Blizzard. Yeah, you broke my DVD drive.
Tech support requests are going to go through the roof for the next 2
weeks. Well, no, they'll sue Activision.
My cup holder's not working.
Yeah, it's also okay. So it is a digital download, but I'm getting a cardboard disc. I'm like, really? Okay, awesome.
It's a weird world we live in.
I know. Cool. So there you go. So that was my thoughts on Path of Exile. Definitely check it out. You can't really go wrong with this game, particularly at that price. You can't for free.
We should do a multiplayer video on it.
Well, you can go wrong for free if it was microtransactions pay to win. Then you can.
Oh, you can absolutely.
You can go wrong for free. But there you go. So I think that's enough time spent on Path of Exile. Next up is Flashback with
Flashback.
Brad. So hang on, wait. Before we get into Flashback, here I am talking about a game that's 4 years old that you're bitching about, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, let's not talk about it. I suppose it's not a review, but
but the segment I'm doing is called Flashback, and it's based on old stuff, whereas you're doing like this new and current game, guys, that I'm playing now that's really old.
It's not really old.
Oh, it's 4 years.
Yeah, no, I kind of realized that as I was saying it. So just
I think it's good. I think some people might actually get something out of that because, like, if sometimes you just want a game, nothing's out. I mean, not at the moment because everything's out. But I don't know. Someone might listen to this podcast in 6 months' time when it's like there's fuck all coming out and go, I might get that game from 4 years ago.
Kill a few hours for free. Yeah, absolutely. I'll give it a look for sure.
I've got it ready to go, but there's no chance of it getting played for at least 3 months, probably, because there's too much stuff coming out. So, yeah. All right, Nintendo 64 is what I would like to talk about now. Now the Nintendo 64 is Nintendo's third home video game console for the international market, named for its 64-bit central processing unit, released in June 1996 in Japan, September 96 in North America, and because Australia's backwards, we got it in 1997 in March. Actually, Brazil got it last. So it was codenamed Project Reality.
Really?
So it was the last console to use cartridges, which is actually now updated because the Nintendo Switch apparently uses cartridges. Is that right?
It does. It uses like these little cartridges that are a little bit smaller and remind me of the Game Boy cartridges. Yeah. They kind of shape, but a little bit thinner and a little bit smaller because
PlayStation 2 memory cards or not like that?
Sorry?
PlayStation 2 memory cards?
No, a little bit smaller again. A little bit smaller, but that type of style.
So, Nintendo were trying to sort of say, oh, it's actually a better way of doing things because they were competing against the PlayStation at that time, which you see in CD-ROMs. Doesn't store as much information, so it did actually limit sort of how big the games could be. And it also costs more. So games back then, like in the late 90s, still cost, I think Turok, one of the editions of that was like $79 US.
I remember Turok.
But that's like, so it was $79 US back in 1997. So, and most of the games are at least $59, $69.
And here we are getting Destiny 2 for $59 Australian.
Which, because people always complain about the price of games, but they haven't gone up for a long time. So maybe that's why all this DLC starts happening and stuff, because companies are trying to get more money. Because I imagine developing a game now costs a lot more money than it did back then, but they're still getting a
lot more staff and.
So generally, the cartridge, basically they had to stick $10 extra onto every game. So whether that was a smart choice or not. The advantage did have it booted very fast. If you remember, it just sort of it just loaded stuff instantly.
Yeah, no, I do remember sort of having a Nintendo 64 and the original PlayStation, and you'd be sitting there on the PlayStation waiting for the intro sort of music theme to actually get you past the the red screens of death and things like that. But at least, with the card, stick it in, power on, and away you go.
Yeah.
That was
basically an SSD for really.
Just a big fat one.
Yeah.
It's kind of, it was a big step forward in technology. The processor was 26 times faster than the Super Nintendo. So, big step up there. And actually, I had a little fact about GoldenEye, and I did talk about GoldenEye before, but apparently when they made the game, they didn't have all the specs of what the Super Nintendo was going to be, because it came out it wasn't fully released yet and stuff like that. So, and when they actually they actually tested it on the console, it was so laggy or slow they had to actually just instantly halve all the textures to make it run properly. So that's why all the faces look all fucked up and stuff on GoldenEye 64, which I thought was kind of interesting, because I was just like, whoop, that's not going to work.
Fair enough.
So it was had a few sort of breakthroughs. It wasn't the first controller to use the analog stick, although that's kind of what it sort of you think it's known for. But it was the first controller to incorporate rumble technology. So if you remember, you would stick a rumble pack in the bottom of it, and then it would rumble, and that was really cool. So they had if you remember Mario Party.
Oh yes, Mario Party. Many drinks had over that game.
They had a lawsuit against them. A lot of people were getting injuries. They were getting blisters. The game required people to move the stick at a rapid pace. People were reporting not only blisters, but puncture wounds, friction burns, and other injuries to the palm of their hands. So because of that...
Stupid people.
Did anyone actually get that up? Did they win?
So what happened was in the end... is Nintendo had to spend $80 million and distribute gloves to all the people who wanted it.
Wow.
So I couldn't work out whether that was actually with the game or you rang a number and they sent you gloves.
Look, at least they saved money on the cartridges.
What do you mean they saved money?
Didn't you say it was like...
No, it was more. That's why they had to charge $10 more per game to cover it. It was a more expensive technology.
Plus the expense of adding gloves.
Yeah, the glove cost.
Right. Sorry, I thought for some reason when you're sort of saying it was only $10 to make a cartridge.
No, it cost $10 more, like $10 premium.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
Never mind. Ignore me.
The Nintendo 64 only released with 2 games, which was interesting. I thought Mario 64 and Pilot Wing 64. It did go on to have 400 games at the end. It also had the first online service called 64DD. I guess it was kind of a precursor to Xbox Live. Only available in Japan. It cost $25 a month, and you could download demos from it. So pretty high tech.
One of my favorite games on the 64. That was Banjo-Kazooie. Did you ever play that?
Great game. Yes.
I thought that was it was such a kid's game, but it was so well done. I love that. Did you actually know? I don't know if this is true. It sounds true, but do you know the the N64 logo where it's sort of got the 4 ends all kind of joined together at their in their cube type shape.
Yeah.
Apparently, they're on that logo. If you count all the vertices at each point and all the faces, there's 64 vertices and 64 faces
I've heard that. Yeah.
in the model. So I was like, oh, there you go. I never knew that until like a week ago as well.
And that's definitely true, right?
I saw it on a picture on Facebook. So
not very
if you read it on the internet, it's true.
I read it. It was on the internet, so it sounded true. I was like, look, there's a lot of vertices and a lot of faces. It's believable. Take it with a grain of salt when it comes from me, though.
We do.
Let's just say it's possibly, maybe right.
Yeah, it sounds pretty true. Anyway,
yeah.
So
the most interesting fact for the end. At the end of World War II, South Korea banned all Japanese cultural imports, right? And apparently that still existed then, or I don't know if it still does now. So the N64 was banned. So what happened was Hyundai, the automotive company, released it as the Convoy 64. So you had to actually buy it through Hyundai, and it was a Hyundai.
What do they call it? The Convoy?
Convoy 64. Yeah, that's what it was called in South Korea.
Isn't that a communist state?
No, that's North Korea you're thinking of. South Korea.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I just said communist convoy. I was like, oh, sounds like there's a link there.
Well, if it was made by North Korea, that might make sense. But it was made by Japan, who were imperialists, I believe, not communist.
No, I meant Korea. And never mind. Move on.
Yeah. So, well, you're the one derailing it with your stupid comments. But
it's what I do.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to fill in for Michael.
Yeah. Someone's going to make dumbass.
He'd be like, "Oh, did you hear about the big monkey war in China or something?" It's like, yeah.
North Korea. The console war, North Korea versus South Korea.
Yeah, the great console wars of the 90s. So I thought it was pretty cool that it like had to go through a weird loophole and be called something else and be published or be released by a different company because Nintendo weren't allowed there.
Like anything in the world, anything is possible. You can get anything anywhere.
So there you go. That's my Nintendo
awesome
thing. I hope that taught you something and was mildly interesting for 5 minutes.
There you go. It did. I was like, it's always good to sort of, find out, weird random facts about things that I think over the years that we're all come to know and love, and just to kind of know a little bit more details, I think is always kind of cool.
Well, and that's stuff like that's basically shaped the way we play games and how, gaming is today.
I wonder if
it's interesting.
The one thing that does sort of interest me in what we were talking about before is if games had sort of the cost of them had kept up with inflation, would we have all this DLC microtransaction nonsense? Is it like they're not getting enough for the base game, so they have to fleece you in other ways? They've just always been the same price. It's inflation. They say it doubles every year or whatever, but I can't imagine them charging $200 for a game, or getting away with it.
Well, not for the game. Yeah, no, that's where that's all your collector's edition. Like, no, I don't think. But like when you look at the sort of the inflation and I guess like $200 for a game, it's like there's no way when you look at sort of I think consumer affairs and fair trade and all that type of jazz that the cost of a production for a physical disc and as I say, like I can't see you can increase the price for that, which is why they bring in collector's editions and whatnot. But then again, games these days can go for God knows how many hours compared to what they used to on a 64 cartridge. So there probably is a potential, right, that they could double the price if they really wanted to because of the companies that are now behind it with sort of staffing and employees and all the different divisions and all that type of stuff. I'm sure they could potentially.
But I guess it's like they can't. I guess it's like you could say they don't need to. Like, there's a couple of ways that they save money. One way they save money is they don't have to distribute physical copies because most copies are probably sold online. So that's like one saving. And also just the sheer volume of sales versus what it would have used to have been. Like the gaming industry is a lot bigger than it was 20 years ago. Sure, yeah. So I guess there's much higher revenue per game, but also massively increased production costs. So
but it's also another thing to bring up something Michael said a while ago. I can't remember if it was on air or just between us, but he was right in what he was saying with people.
Don't tell him that.
Don't tell him. He won't listen. But no matter what we say about DLC and pay to win and microtransactions and all that kind of stuff and how much it pisses it off, and the general consensus that we see on a daily basis and the feedback we've had on Facebook and all that kind of thing supports our theory that it's shit. But at the end of the day, if people are buying it, people are buying stuff, they're voting with their wallets. And the companies won't do it if they're not going to make money from it. So the only way to stop them is to not engage. And unfortunately, you're always going to have, whether it's the kids that have got mum and dad's credit card that just need to be the best, or whatever the scenario is, someone out there, however deranged they are, is always going to engage in these kind of microtransactions that will keep this system growing, and it's really quite, I think, sad.
But they might see. You never know. Like with Battlefront, it'd be good to see a downturn in sales at least. Because there is a bit of a pushback. There's going to be people who do buy it, but it might sell less than Battlefront 1 or something, and that would show, okay, maybe we can't get away with this.
Yeah, hopefully that's the only way we're going to know is to not buy it.
Yes, unfortunately, consumers have the power, but those with power never seem to use it.
Don't buy Battlefront 2 unless they change it. Unless they change the way those microtransactions work.
Well, that's I know. I think after the beta was done, and I think EA came out and sort of said, "Oh, it's just a beta. Things fuck off, EA. You don't."
Oh yeah, they're like, "No, we weren't even going to do that."
Things will change.
Well, we weren't really going to do that, but no, you will.
I love they test the waters and then they're like, "No, we're joking. It's like April Fools, except now."
No, because the problem is what they'll do is they'll come out going, "Oh, we're not going to do that," and then everyone goes and buys it, and then they go, "Oh, actually, we lied, so we're still going to do it."
Yeah,
it's like, we got your money
again.
Anyway, so next up we have Grax in a game called The Black Death.
Yes,
this is a first impressions for you. So give us your first impressions.
So this popped up in my feed the other day from Green Men Gaming. It's actually one of the games that they have produced in early access. So it's another early access survival MMO.
Really?
How much we complain about that kind of stuff. What a surprise. I've put in, I'm just looking at the record on Steam. So I've played 3.5 hours. So I haven't really given it too much time, but enough to have a bit of a look around. So the concept of the game.
And you're like an expert on these games as well, we should say. So you play all of them. So you're more qualified to sort of comment on it.
I've got to say, it's definitely a genre that I'm getting more into and really starting to enjoy. It's not something I ever thought I'd be interested in, but it's really sort of got a hold on me. But anyway, we'll go on. So the premise of this game is that you're in the Middle Ages and you are a plague doctor. That's how you start the game. It's skill-based, XP-based. It's one of those grindy kind of games, but it's got a very different kind of take on how you do things. So you start as a plague doctor. You're in the town of Mercia. And
have mercy.
Yes. And basically the whole town, or the majority of the town, are suffering from the plague. And it's your job to, at least in the beginning, try and enhance your physician skills, your doctor skills, however you want to term that, and investigate and try and cure people. Now, obviously, in the beginning, you don't have any tools, you don't have any real knowledge, so you've got to sort of level up by investigating the dead animals, investigating sick people, all these kind of things. So it's interesting. You've still got the basic survival mechanics of you need to eat, you need to drink, so you need to take care of that as well. And as you can imagine, in a town that's got the plague, the food's really poor, the water's not clean. So there's all these things you have to do to try and keep yourself alive. There are 8 different professions available in the game. So the premise is that you start as or you're a really unqualified doctor, if you want to say, with very little skill, but you can branch out into being an artisan.
I think
or
most of them were back then, to be honest.
I was going to say, did they have diplomas and qualifications?
No, this is the thing. I actually did a little bit of history reading, which sort of an offshoot. It made me interested in the whole period, and they were saying, that most of the plague doctors were either practitioners that weren't very good and just wanted to sort of dodgily get ahead and fleece people for money, and then there were those that were like an up-and-coming young doctor that wanted to actually help people and blah, blah. So anyway.
They basically didn't want to be a peasant. It's like, look, the guy's missing an arm. Do something.
Do something about it.
Stick.
But it wasn't
something.
It wasn't like now where they didn't go to school for 6 years and
nothing like that at all.
It wasn't much of a respected profession.
That's really reflected in the game. So there's a lot of trial and error, and there's a very loose tutorial that takes you maybe half an hour, 40 minutes to follow a chain of quests to learn your basic skills and how to look after yourself.
Is there combat or anything in it?
Yes. Yeah. So it's it's full, and I'll get to this at the end, but it is full PvP.
Okay.
Throw rats at people, like get him.
It's really interesting how that plays out too. The combat system is different. Like, so you got your left and your right hand attacks and a strong attack in the middle and those kind of things. But you don't have to. You're not locked into being a doctor. Like I said, you can be a bandit, so you can actually rob people and the town. You can be the local militia. You can be an artisan, a peasant, hunter, cook, all these other things. There's a total of 117 unlockable skills. So the wiki's telling me. And like I said, you follow your basic tutorial that will lead you through how you investigate the disease to start with and how to make very low-level doctor's tools like, a very weak scalpel and those kind of things.
That's what you want, like a blunt, weak scalpel.
Yeah. But
start out with just a piece of wood. You're just trying to cut them. It really isn't working.
Let me have a look at this artery. Give me the branch.
I think it's I think it's a sharpened stone scalpel or something is the first. Yeah.
Sorry, I've removed your head. I didn't mean to do that.
Whoops.
What's that bubbling? It's certainly not an infection.
Yeah. So one of the first things that happened to me in the game, so there's NPC interaction and, you're walking around, there's quest givers and that kind of stuff. And the city is alive, so to speak. The NPCs go about their daily stuff and there's sick people in the street. One of the first things that happened to me, I walked into the town following my trade and some dude comes up to me and coughed in my face, made me sick. And my health went down.
Was that a PvP move or was that an NPC?
Yeah, no, it's an NPC.
Is that a skill that you learn?
Cough.
It was an NPC. So you've got to keep your food and your water above your wellness up above a certain amount to not get sick, and if you do get sick,
to build up like your immunity levels.
Basically, yes. And if
they use leeches back then. They use leeches.
Yes, you can. Yeah, you find leeches in the local ponds and water and stuff.
Oh wow.
So it goes into that level of detail. And like I said, you got to cook your food, find your food, you steal rotten apples when you're dying of starvation. So after I got sick, my health went right down. The screen gets really, really bloody and red, and it's really hard to see. Like it makes you. It felt really realistic, for lack of a better term. Like, it's not realistic, but it just felt like, oh shit, I'm sick. How do I fix this? And like you're moving leeches, slower. And, sure. You're trying to make yourself better, and you get desperate, and you steal food from the local cart when the guards aren't watching it. That was really cool. I thought that was an interesting gameplay mechanic, and doing physical examinations. So you get quests to go and you get to check obviously the things that have died from the plague, but you also get asked to go and check on sick militiamen and that kind of thing, and try and at the same time you can physically inspect them in different ways to try and enhance your knowledge. So it's interesting. It's really interesting, and it's been out, like we said, it's early access. It's been out for just over a year or a year and a half now. I think came onto Steam in April 2016 as early access. And another thing that we've talked about in the past, early access with several updates. So it's had quite a few, not DLC, but major patch updates where they've added content, added skills, added journal entries.
Is it
and
like
that kind
near
of thing.
release level yet, or is it still?
I don't know. They're saying next year, but it feels to me. So I've got a couple of cons that are things
is that
that
like
I
a
didn't
Star
like.
Citizen next year, or like a real next year?
Hey, how many Skyrims can you fit into that? I don't know.
Yeah, and how big's the map? How many Skyrims in the map?
So I can tell you that. I wrote that down especially for you, Brett. So the map is 8 kilometers squared. Hang on, let me.
How big's Skyrim, just for a comparison? Because
wouldn't have a clue. Would not have a clue.
God.
8 kilometers squared is the open world, and it's completely open. You can go where you want and do what you want, provided that you're feeding yourself.
Size.
And the other way the game works, so you get skill points and XP for doing tasks, discovering stuff, that kind of thing. But if you manage to survive the night, and the night is a lot more dangerous because there's bandits and that kind of thing, you get, in the morning when the sun comes up, you get a whole heap of XP. You get a little bit of gold, and you get some skill points that you can put into whatever class you're choosing to advance. So that's another interesting way, or another interesting game mechanic that I thought was different.
What stops you from just getting? Sorry, what stops you from just getting attacked right at the start and just like people trolling you and stuff?
Well, I don't know yet, because that's actually what happened to me. So I'd been playing for about 2 hours, I think, and then I got myself about 1,500 gold. I had enough to actually buy a small house outside the city. I'd done quite a bit of questing, and I'd leveled my doctor skills up. I had a few tools. I had needle and thread and a couple of other things. And I was just that basically.
Sorry, we lost you there for about 3 seconds.
Sorry, what part did you hear?
I don't, it sort of threw me.
You weren't.
It just no, it was. You said you were going to go buy a house, and then it just went.
Okay, so I had enough money to go and buy, and I was just wandering around on sort of dusk, and 2 other players came up and basically ganged up on me, bashed me, killed me, took all my money and all my stuff, and disappeared.
Nazis.
So, yeah, they must have been. So that's one of the things that it really pissed me off. Like, I wasn't expecting it. But
that would do my
I
head
suppose
in.
it is part of the game. You know, I have read somewhere that when the game is full release, they will do PvP and PvE servers. So
can you sort of hang around the town and be protected by the guards and stuff, or are you just like
So if the guards will interact if they in their field of vision if they witness assaults, robberies, or you stealing things from vendors and that kind of stuff, they will act upon it. I actually played again really quickly before the podcast just to refresh myself with it, and I stole some rotting food in front of one of the guards, and I only had to run for 30 seconds to get out of his reach, and he stopped chasing me. So they're not super.
But then if you go back, does he
awesome.
remember you, or are you like clear at that point?
Well, when you steal stuff, it says you've got criminality points, or some it's not criminality, but some other term of the same nature. So I assume that there's some sort of cumulative check balance in the background that's going on. You'll become known as a criminal. So that's cool as well. So that your actions have consequences. But on the negative side, so there was the getting bashed by the 2 guys in PvP. I wasn't really expecting that.
So when that happened, you were sort of out in a field somewhere, or you're out away from the guards?
Yeah, and when you die, whether you die to a PvP attack or whether you die to the plague or whether you die of hunger, however you die, you lose everything and you can't get it back. So it's not like go find your body and pick your stuff up. You lose everything.
So it's pretty hardcore game. All right.
So what it's designed to do is you want to work your ass off, get a safe place to store your belongings, and then you're kind of safe from that kind of thing. So you'll lose everything you're carrying, but you won't lose your levels in the skills you've chosen. But if you've got any unspent skill points, if you haven't allocated any skill points, you'll lose them too. So
it's pretty harsh.
You really have to.
So it's got a bit of risk and reward to it, that's for sure.
Yes, yeah.
It actually sounds pretty fun. I've got to admit, I'm thinking about getting it.
It really interested me. Like it just grabbed me. I sort of popped up, like I said, in my feed, and I thought, oh, this looks interesting. And it was $13.39, $13 on
about $20.
Steam, on Steam and Green Man Gaming. It's 33% off now till I think the end of October. So by the time this podcast comes out, should just still be on special. There are mixed reviews on Steam.
Yeah, I did see them.
They were leaning towards negative when it first came out because there were a lot of buggy, early access issues. And more recently, in the last few months with the updates they've done, there've been a lot of positive reviews, which have lifted it up to mixed. And there's a lot of more positive reviews and comments on their Steam webpage.
Are the bad reviews because of bugs, or are they because of gameplay?
A bit of both. So back when the bad reviews were done, they were talking about lack of content and bugs. And the other thing, which really isn't the fault of the game yet, is a lot of people are saying the game needs a bigger community to be able to, co-op with people, because there's so many different skills you can do. Like you could just go and be a blacksmith and to hell with the doctor thing. So what the people are wanting is, which the game guys can't really do much about, is more people to play with and build, your player towns and have your local blacksmith and have your doctor and all this kind of stuff. So have guilds and all that. So I believe there's a function for guilds, but there's one Australian server that's in Sydney, and the times that I've played, there's only ever been other two people on.
Oh, okay.
So,
what did you? What's the game called again?
It's called The Black Death.
Oh, okay.
So the other thing I don't really like about it, they're not over the top awesome, but they're reasonable, and it's dark and oppressive, which is cool. It sets the scene, and that's cool. But the movement of the player avatar feels stiff. They don't really flow well, and sometimes getting around is a little clunky. You get caught on objects, but early access again, and that's to be expected. The movement around the place and getting to and from places feels slow. I can't really explain why, but when I move around in Conan Exiles or 7 Days to Die or another survival game, Ark, whatever, I feel like I'm moving. Like if I run, I feel like I'm. But in this one, you run and it just you're moving, but it just doesn't feel right.
No, you don't feel like you're interacting with the environment. You're kind of just like gliding over.
Yeah, but
the ground.
it's really hard to explain. Like your legs are moving and you're making the running animation, but it doesn't feel right. So hopefully that's something they'll address. But overall, the concept is cool. There's hunting. There's so much. There's a lot of stuff to do. Obviously, the tutorial is very short, and then you basically go on your own way and do whatever you want to do. The game has won it hasn't won. It was a finalist in the 2017
second place is the first loser.
Yeah, apparently so. But at least they got so best game by a small studio. So they're only as most early access games are. Well, the ones that I play anyway, small studios of under 20 people. I don't know how many are in this one, but it says small. So.
There's a great review on Steam. It goes, got to be one of the worst games possible if you can even call it a game. I'll still be playing it though.
What?
What did they say? Why?
No, that was it. I just thought it was funny. It's like terrible game, but I'll be playing.
Some of the negative ones are unplayable, and that's from back last year, October.
I noticed a couple were like change where it's like, it's got a lot of updates and looks better and blah blah blah. So it sounds like they're doing quite a bit of work on it.
Yeah, and that's a common theme that I noticed when I had a quick look over the forums. A lot of people are saying the devs are really active and they're interacting with the community, asking questions, asking what they want, that kind of thing. So it looks like these guys are doing the best they can. And for $15, $20 on your conversion, however you're doing that, it's worth a look. I just think the concept of it's something I've never really encountered before. Being a doctor and this medieval plague doctor in Mercia.
It's not survival zombies, which is really good.
No, the people don't turn into zombies when they got their pustules bursting, you just die. So I'm definitely going to give it some more time, and I'm interested to see where it goes.
I'm going to add it to my wish list and sort of look at it again in 6 months. See, it sounds like
definitely.
It's
I would recommend that if it even sounds remotely interesting, I recommend you put it on your wish list because it's.
Your keyboard's really loud, Chris. Really loud. Sorry.
It's because he's punching it.
Yeah, just
relax. But it's definitely something that I think will get a lot better.
Yeah, it was added to my wish list. Yeah, so it's probably because my microphone's right next to my keyboard as well. It probably doesn't help.
Yeah, so just before I finish up on it, so like I said, it came out in April of last year, 2016. So over a year in early access. My first impressions, the things that I really liked about the game when I got into it and looked at the journal and looked at the skill tree, looked at this all that kind of stuff, that's all new as of a couple of months ago. So, and that's all the stuff that the positive comments have recently been made about on Steam. So it looks like they're heading in the right direction. And, for me looking at it without any previous interaction with it when it first came out, the new stuff was what stood out to me as the cool parts of the game. So it appears to be doing stuff right. So,
cool. Good work. Always a plus. Awesome. So there you go, the Black Death. So our last segment, which we'll run through, I don't think it's going to be, we'll see how long it takes, but upcoming. So what we want to have a look at is towards the end of each month is have a look at what's coming out or what's releasing in the following month to make sure you guys are all completely aware of what's going on in case there's something you may have forgotten about. And hopefully we do you some justice and remind you of what's coming out. Although November is looking to be a bit of a stiff month, particularly after October. There was quite a few good games that have released this month, sort of like your Forza 7, Gran Turismo, South Park's The Fractured But Whole. We got Destiny 2 tomorrow. Fuck you, Assassin's Creed. No one cares.
Is that out this month? Assassin's Creed, is that out soon?
It is October 27th. So all those games, so up until Destiny 2, there's other games in there as well. But
Wolfenstein 2, when's that?
That's
Wolfenstein
27th.
2 is the 27th. Cool. Super Mario Odyssey is the 27th.
Oh, yeah. I'm probably going to buy a Switch just for that game.
But yeah, so it's October tends to be a solid month. Looking into November, though, we've got some shitty classics like Call of Duty. And
might be good.
It's World War II.
No, it is World War II, so maybe
might be way better. It might be way better than it's been.
Or it could just be, a reskin Call of Duty. But sorry, I don't like. I think Call of Duty is just dumb.
My favorite
used to be good.
My favorite was Call of Duty 1 and then
Modern Warfare 2.
No, Modern Warfare 1
Modern
was...
Warfare 1, definitely.
Yeah,
Modern Warfare 1?
Modern Warfare 1. And when you could have your own map packs and all that kind of stuff before Activision jumped on the map pack DLC because they saw how good the community maps were and go, hey, we can do that and charge money.
Yeah, true. Also going out, Need for Speed Payback is in November. Lego Marvel Superheroes 2. Elder Scrolls Skyrim is coming out to Switch.
Oh, my God.
Flogging a dead
For
horse.
the one person on the planet who hasn't played it.
Oh, my God. When was Skyrim actually released? How long ago?
Oh, that was like
2012. Oh, no, 2011, I think it was. It was like
There you go.
a long time ago.
More longer ago, if even that's a
Still
phrase,
flogging
than
that
Path
horse.
of Exile.
Yeah. Battlefront 2, which you better not be buying.
Yeah, please don't buy it unless they
just-
change
just-
it.
Not in its current
Don't
state.
support it. Don't support their
No.
bullshit.
No.
Vote with your wallet, peeps.
And I guess if you're a Pokemon fan, you've got Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon on November 17th as well. So
What's
they're
the
the
difference?
games.
What's that? Like, because I know there was
have
like
no idea.
Ultra Moon.
Yeah, I don't know. Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. I never never got into that series. But then also December is a pretty shitty looking month as well, with not really anything too crash hot coming out. No major names coming out. There's like a Resident Evil 7 Gold Edition. Really? Didn't that other one just come out?
coming VR in December.
Yeah, Fallout 4 VR.
For anyone
but
that's got VR, if you can afford
I
it.
would say save your money and stay away from these games coming out over November and December, because we'll probably have the Steam summer sale. No, winter sale.
The winter sale, yeah.
Backwards. So that'll be coming out in usually around November, December time, I believe. So
Plus, you got all the Christmas sales and stuff coming up too.
keep your money for all that stuff. But that's it. One quick thing. We do have PAX Australia is this weekend. And if you are going to PAX, head down. We're part of a little podcast group, AGPN, Australian Gaming Podcast Network, and they're putting on a little bit of Australian podcast show on this year. And if you are down there, because we won't be there this year, unfortunately, but they are putting on a little bit of a thing, and we'll have sort of the community's podcast logos going up on a screen. Ours should be there. So if you are at PAX, take a photo, put it on our Facebook.
Yeah.
We'd love to see what
If
it
they
looks
don't
like.
put our logo up, we'll be very annoyed.
Very upset.
We could almost turn it into a competition if someone takes a photo of our thing down there.
Yep. If you're down there, take a picture, share it on our Facebook page, because love to
Hashtag
see it.
control
up
What
there.
do you win for this competition?
We'll get
You win a free
around the
copy
house and
of
give them a hug.
Path of Exile.
Yes, I'll send you the link to download it. But yeah, I think it's really cool. So get down there and check it out. And then look, hopefully with any luck, maybe next year's PAX we'll be there.
I'll
So,
definitely be there
this
next year.
Oh, yes.
I will be
Definitely.
going next year.
Yeah, I went
100%.
every year since it's been in Australia, except last year and this year. And next year it's time to go back.
Yep.
Yep. What we'll need to do is we'll get little shirts done up, and we'll have like our little faces of the logo on each of our shirts, and we can be like, that's me.
Are you paying for that?
No.
And if Michael comes, you'll have to wear a paper bag because
You'll have to have a paper
Yeah.
bag.
Yeah, he will. Yeah.
So you can be
Actually,
like,
that could be cool cosplay.
It would be. It would be. Just a paper
Actually,
bag.
not happy about Michael just not turning up. I mean, Michael, if you do listen to this, which you probably won't, you're gonna
Team player.
We're gonna fire you very soon. So
Yeah.
get your shit.
Set him
But at
on
least-
fire, or just like feel the burn, or
Look, at least we managed
Yeah.
to have a proper conversation this time.
We're
I
actually
feel
doing,
anyway.
we're actually going to be doing a live in studio episode next week as well.
In studio.
Studio
Brett's
being my little gaming
bedroom.
den.
Your background. That sounded really creepy as I
Yeah,
said
not
that.
in my bedroom. I didn't say bedroom.
well, I'll dial in for that.
You have to dial in.
Yeah, but, possibly Michael if he wants to turn up, and Chris will be here, so we'll be doing it
Yes,
actually in
I'm
the same
back here.
room instead of over Discord, which is pretty exciting.
I know. This will be actually
we're
the
bringing-
first time.
The east and west of Australia together via the internet.
Exactly. So I'll be back in person. Because of that, myself, Brett, and Michael will be able to, in the same room, do actual recording in person, which is something that I think Brett and we haven't done since we had our previous podcast show for over a year and a half now. So it's going to be good to do that again. And this will actually be the first time that I'll be able to do the podcast face to face with Michael as well. So
I reckon you guys are going to end up in a,
That's
in a
good.
fight.
I was going to say
Like an
you're
actual fight.
going to take some boxing, or
we'll have to get the
Hammer.
webcam out and get a camera up and
I'll have some pepper spray ready to go just to separate you guys
you
if
might- you
it
might
kicks
need
off.
fire hose.
Anyway, thank you so much for listening. If you're still hanging around, of course, jump onto Facebook, interact, get on there, engage. We'd love to hear from you guys. And of course, give us a rating and review and all those stars and good stuff onto iTunes or any podcast app that you use. Also, check out our Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Links for those will be in the description of this episode. Until next week, have a good one, and we'll see you then.
Bye.
See yous.